back. Today I'm going to be doing a Lindsay Recommends video, and today's recommendations are going to be short books. This is the perfect time to recommend short books because obviously it is December. The year is coming to a close. We're all trying to read as much as we can and to complete those Goodreads goals. And so today I'm going to be sharing 10 books that I think are perfect short reads if you are trying to push yourself to the end of the year, to the end of your Goodreads goal, or if you just want to read a bunch of books in the month of December. I have a pretty wide variety of books to talk about in this video. I have some mystery, I have some romance, I have some contemporary, I have some historical fiction, I have some nonfiction. I have a little bit of everything. So I hope that no matter what you're looking for, you can find a recommendation in this video. And with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So when I think about short books, I would classify it as something that is under 250 pages. So all of the books that I have to recommend today are under 250 pages, books that you can easily sit down and read in a day or two if that is what you want to do. And so I'm going to talk about the books in order from shortest to longest, starting obviously with the book that is the shortest and going up to the book that is the longest, keeping in mind that all of these books are under 250 pages. So the first book I'm going to recommend is actually more of a novella or a short story, and that is The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. This book is 62 pages, so it is very short, and this is a mystery thriller with a little bit of a supernatural element thrown in. It's all about this woman who is a psychic, and she gets commissioned by this woman to come and see if there are ghosts in her house. And when the psychic goes to this house, she realizes that there is something deeply messed up with this family, and so she gets caught up in a little bit of their family drama, but also there might be a little bit of a supernatural element going on as well. And for a book that is 62 pages, this book packs a lot into it. Even though it is basically a short story or a novella, it's probably my favorite thing that I've ever read by Gillian Flynn, and I would highly recommend it. I also would highly recommend the audiobook of this one because it's also very short, and the narrator does a really good job of making you feel like you're in this creepy, maybe haunted house. Next up, I'm going to talk about a nonfiction book, one of my favorites, and a book that I actually haven't talked about in a long time, but I definitely want to talk about more and I definitely want to recommend more, is 84 Charing Crossroad by Helene Hanff. This is 97 pages, so still very short, under 100 pages, so quick read. This is actually a series of letters, a series of correspondence between the author Helene Hanff and a bookseller in London. Most of the letters in this book take place during the 40s and 50s, and during this time Helene Hanff is living in New York City, and she is having a hard time tracking down and getting her hands on a bunch of books that she wants to read. And so she starts a correspondence with a bookseller in London who starts sending her books over, and the letters take place over the course of 20 years. This very sweet friendship develops between Helene Hanff and the bookseller, and this is just a tiny little book of all of the letters that they wrote to each other during this time. If you're looking for something that is quick and easy but also so sweet and wonderful and something a little bit different, then I would definitely recommend 84 Charing Crossroad. Next up, I'm going to talk about another short story that is by one of my all-time favorite authors, and that is Evidence of the Affair by Jenkins. This book is 115 pages, and it is also a series of correspondence between these two people. However, this one is fiction, and it is between a woman and a man who find out that their spouses are cheating on them with each other. And when I tell you that Jenkins can pack a punch in just 115 pages, believe me, because in this very short little story, there is a wide range of emotions, including happiness, heartbreak, sadness, just everything that you can imagine is in this story. It has that signature Jenkins writing style, just condensed into a much shorter story. I'm pretty sure this is available on Amazon Prime Reading or maybe Kindle Unlimited. If not, I think it's only like 99 cents. So if it's something that you think you'd be interested in, it's definitely worth the $1 that you will spend because it is just so fantastic. Next up, I'm going to talk about a graphic memoir, another nonfiction book, and that is March by John Lewis. This is the first of 3 volumes all about John Lewis and his time spent in the civil rights movement in the 60s. And it's so good. It's so educational and informative. I believe all 3 volumes in this series actually are under 250 pages, so you could read all 3 of them just in one go and get this full complete story that will teach you something and also have an emotional impact on you. This is obviously nonfiction. This is John Lewis's real account of things that were happening during the civil rights movement. And there is so much in this story that I didn't even know. So I feel like there's something in this for everyone. And I think it's a very important very crucial read, and also it's a graphic novel, it's a graphic memoir, so you can read it really quickly, read the whole thing really quickly. I think it's a series that you need to read all 3 volumes in one go, and I would highly recommend it. They're all very short, all perfect if you're trying to meet your Goodreads goal, or just in general, if you want to read more short things, if you want to read more graphic memoirs, these are the perfect books to pick up. The next book I'm going to talk about is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This is another nonfiction memoir type story that is about 150 pages long, and this is another letter, essentially. It is Ta-Nehisi Coates writing a letter to his son about what it means to be Black in America and owning your Blackness. And again, I think this is a book that is so important. I think it is almost required reading for any and everyone, because this book packs such a punch in such a short amount of time. It is, again, informative, educational. I learned a lot about the country that I live in reading this book, and I just feel like the lessons and the little morals that Ta-Nehisi Coates throws in throughout the story, throughout the course of this book, are so important and so vital to just being a better person, to understanding the human experience, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. Next up, I'm going to talk about the very first book I read in 2019. An unexpected, delightful favorite is River of Teeth by Sarah Gailey. This is another story that would probably be classified more as a novella than a novel, but it is an alternate historical fiction story that is about 175 pages, and it is essentially a heist set in a world where hippos were introduced into the wildlife population to hunt and for meat. It follows a ragtag group of characters as they try to complete this almost impossible heist, and it has one of the most fun cast of characters. I loved this story so much, and it really came down to how much I loved the characters and how invested I got in these stories. I think that Sarah Gailey is a very underrated author, and I think that they have the potential to just blow up and be a force in the sci-fi and fantasy world, and I think that everybody should read River of Teeth and also its sequel, Taste of Marrow. They are both relatively short reads, both books that I would definitely recommend. Easy reads, great audiobooks, just so much fun, so unexpectedly fun, and I cannot recommend them highly enough. The next book I'm going to talk about is actually something a little bit different because it is a poem, and that is Set the Shotgun to the Head by Saul Williams. This is about 190 pages, and it's just one long poem. Again, like Between the World and Me, it's all about the Black experience in America, understanding what it means to be Black in a predominantly white world where you don't have the same kind of privileges as white people. And I think that as someone who is not Black, obviously, this is just a really educational piece of literature that helps to inform people, helps others understand exactly what it means to be Black and the Black experience in America. I just think it's so important, impactful, and just an overall really unexpectedly fantastic read. I say it's unexpected because it's just a poem, and I don't really care for poetry, but this had such an impact on me that I included it in my favorite books of 2018. It's a book that I think about a lot. It's a book that I definitely want to reread in the near future because I think that it's something that every time you read it, you could learn something new from it. And I love books that teach me something. I love books that help me understand the world better and help me become a better person. And this is a book that definitely does that. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book that I consider an all-time favorite. It's a book that I think about a lot. It's a book that I love the movie adaptation of, but I haven't talked about on my channel in a while, and that is How I Live Now by Meg Rosoff. This is a YA, it's contemporary, but also a little bit futuristic, a little bit dystopian, and it's all about a girl named Daisy who goes to England to stay with her cousins for the summer, and while she is there, World War III breaks out, and she and her cousins have to figure out how to survive in this new world. It's a book that probably isn't going to be for everyone, but if you get along with the writing style, if you like the content, then you will really love the story. It is a little bit of a taboo book because there is an inappropriate relationship in here. I don't really want to go into the specifics of it because I don't want to spoil the book. I didn't like the romance part of it, but I looked past it because the story itself is just fantastic. It's very well written, and I really love this book, and I think more people should read it, honestly. Actually, talking about it in this video makes me want to just sit down and reread it because I haven't read it in a while, and I really really love this book. Next up, I'm going to talk about a middle grade book, and that is When You Reach Me by Rebecca Steed. This is about 200 pages, and it is about a girl named Miranda who is living in New York City, and she is absolutely obsessed with the book The Wrinkle in Time. This book is mostly contemporary, and there is a little bit of a mystery element to it, but there is also a little bit of a sci-fi element to it as well. I can't remember the exact specifics of the book, but basically at the beginning, her and her best friend have had a little bit of a falling out, and she spends the whole book trying to figure out exactly what has happened. I don't normally recommend middle grade books on my channel because I don't read a ton of middle grade, but I really enjoyed this because it's very adventurous and fun while also being a very isolated story. There is, you know, obviously this sci-fi element that comes in, but you don't really know much about that throughout the story, and so getting to that point, like kind of uncovering that, like that being the mystery aspect of it, was really interesting, really engaging, kept me reading, and it's middle grade, so it's easy to read. It's like kind of the perfect read to read right here at the end of the year. And finally, the last book I'm going to recommend in this video is a YA contemporary called Hold Still by Nina Lacour. This is a book that I have always considered to be one of my all-time favorites. It's been on my favorite shelf on Goodreads for a long time. I keep it with all my favorite YA books on my bookshelf. This is a YA contemporary, obviously, about a girl named Caitlin whose best friend has recently committed suicide. And Caitlin has been having a hard time coming to terms with this. She doesn't really understand or accept that this has happened. And at the beginning of the book, she finds her best friend Ingrid's journal that is basically kind of like a suicide note. And she uses this journal to come to understand exactly why her friend did what she did. She forms new friendships along the way. I'm pretty sure there is a romance in this book, and I really love it. Nina Lacour has just one of the best writing styles. She's writing some of the most unique and wonderful YA contemporaries out there right now. I haven't read this book in a few years, but it is a book that I think about very fondly, think about a lot actually, and I couldn't make this video without recommending it. It is the longest book on this recommendations list. I think it's about 230 pages, but still a perfectly short read, perfect for the end of the year, and I just couldn't recommend it more. So those are 10 books that I think are perfect short reads to read right here at the end of the year. If you're trying to meet your Goodreads goal, these are great books to pick up. If you just want to read a bunch of short things right here at the end of the year, these are perfect books to pick up. And even like throughout the year, if you just want something short and easy and fantastic, then look no farther than these 10 books because they're some of the best books out there, and they're also really short. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video and what you thought about them. Do you think that these are perfect recommendations for short reads, or do you disagree with me? I'd really love to know. Also, let me know some of your favorite short books. Obviously, anything under 250 pages is what I would consider a short read, so if you have any short books to recommend me, I would really love to know that as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!